This is my video to present my culminating project for Honors Computer Science Projects class, taught by Dr. Kessner. So I decided actually to do a visual novel project in collaboration with both my coding class and my history class. And so what I was tasked to do was that we wrote a short essay in history class about a specific event, and I chose the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then put all that information from my essay into a more visual format and coding project, and then incorporated pieces of my essay into this coding project so that it could make a different way for people to learn about it. And so you start off here. We're using the Monogatari engine, which before this I'd never worked with, and I think this is the first time Dr. Kessner has helped people with it too this year. So it was definitely a bit of a challenge, but you start by clicking the start button. And then I made it so that I wanted it to be kind of mysterious in the beginning, and so you just click on this text, which actually turns out to talk about like what senbazuru is, and then you can click yes or no, and it'll give you a variation of answers for yes and no, but then for yes it will be like that's great, and then just recap if you want to refresh your knowledge, and if you clicked no it would say like no worries and then here's a quick recap. So moving on, and as you see I've coded in my text so that it kind of scrolls across the screen, and this is like default from the Monogatari engine, but it makes it really easy to see. And then I transition after you read that beginning like hook introduction part into the three main components of my project, which is looking at the family before the bombing, and so just getting to know the family. I thought it was really important to like not just show them as victims, but show them as like actual humans. And then you get to the event, which is the bombing of Hiroshima, and then what happened after it. And so for the family and the bombing, it doesn't matter which one you choose first because you'll be able to go back to the next one. So I'll just show you. If you click on this, it shows the text, images, and so I'm just going to go through it really fast because you guys can check it out later if you want. And then after you go through all this, it brings you back. So it doesn't matter what you click for these two. It does matter for the aftermath though, because that takes you to the conclusion. And so here, the same thing, images are presented, text is shown, and then if you want to go, and if you don't want to see this text too, you can always click hide and you can see like the whole image. And then here's the aftermath, and so kind of just talking about, what happened to the family after the bombings, what happened to Hiroshima itself, and then kind of relating it back to the beginning where we talked about what senbazuru was. And then it brings you to the closing, which is virtually the same thing. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the coding that went into it. So I used Atom, and then everything I coded here I uploaded to a repository in GitHub, and so that you can find it online and it's not just locally located on my computer. So for the first part, all those images that you saw in the project had to be uploaded to this section called images, and this would be the name that you would assign to them, and then you would have to declare exactly how the image was named from the downloads. So if you go to right here, you'll see that all these images are uploaded, and I've named them the exact names that they are in the images folder in my Atom coding. So that was a pretty tedious process, and yeah. And so then the next thing is similar to that. I uploaded more images, but this was in the form of scenes. So these are more used for backgrounds, while the images are not considered backgrounds. So when the background goes black, it's the black background. When you see all the cranes, it's this background. When you see the change to Hiroshima, that background's there too. I didn't have any characters in mind. Maybe I hope to experiment with that in the future, but there is the option to add in like characters that show up along with your text. And so the script is really where most of the action happens. And so everything in this script is basically what details what happens in my project. So one of the most interesting things I found in Monogatari is like the ability to make choices. So when you can say yes or no, or click on the 3 options that show up later, that's all done by like this choices piece. So it'll show you, you'll name the choice, and then the text is what actually is displayed on screen, and then do is what happens when you click what's displayed on screen. And so in this case, the text is the traditional Japanese thing of folding the paper cranes. And so once you click it, then it leads you to that, like, have you ever heard of it before? And then it leads then into another embedded choice, which is yes or no. And so the more choices you add, the more complicated it can get, because you're jumping to a lot of different places, and you have to code each place that it's jumping to. So this is where I show you what happens if you answer yes or no. And it differs slightly, but again, it's pretty much the same. This is the choice screen, which includes all the 3 gray bubbles you saw in the beginning. And then for each one, for example, this one says jump to the Sasaki family. Then it brings you directly here, goes through all the text, and then it actually, if you look right here, it says jump choice screen. You jump right back to the choice screen. Do the whole thing over again. And so this is where I input all my text from the essay. That was pretty simple. What was not simple was showing the images, and then you have to remember to hide them so that when you show the next one, they're not like layered over each other. And then this is where you jump to the ending, the closing, and then all of this stuff here is the main menu screen. Actually, if you just want to reload this, it should show you. Yeah, so all the coding here, the Monogatari component, main screen, just showing the main screen. And so yeah, my project is still a work in progress. I hope to always like maybe add more. I want to add sound. I want to maybe add a character later from like the family or something. But this is what I currently have. I hope I explained it clear enough, and thank you for watching.